When one of our hives swarmed, we recaptured them and were forced to temporarily put them into a cardboard box because we ran out of regular bee boxes. Dave brought over a pine plank, so it's off to the shop to make a new one. I've got a finger joint jig set to make 3/4 inch fingers. With the jig that Matthias Wandel designed, I can cut 4 ends at once, flip the pieces over, and do the other ends. Unfortunately, I made the joints just a little too snug, and with the glue added, they'll be even tighter. But with a little persuasion, they'll go together okay. There are several ways to glue up finger jointed boxes, and because I'm only building this one, I'm not going to get elaborate. I'll just glue up the first two sides, making sure they're square, and then come back and finish up the box. It pays to not be too stingy with the clamps. There needs to be a 5/8 inch rabbet cut into each of the ends for the frames to sit down into. And if I cut them on the table saw before assembly, it's easy, but it leaves holes in the sides of the box, and then they need to be plugged. I use a router bit and clamp a 2x4 on the box to give the router some stability. Because the bit only cuts a 1/4 inch groove, I have to readjust it a bit and go back over to make the cut deeper. Afterwards, I square the corners out with a chisel, which may seem like a lot of work, but it's actually not that different from using the table saw method. The corners are cleaned up on the belt sander, and then I just quickly hit the rest of the box with the orbital sander and get it ready for paint. Handles also have to be cut. We have some boxes with handles screwed onto the outside, which is easy, but they can sometimes get in the way. I cut handles with a router, but this time I'd like to try cove cutting the handles in. I don't want to get into too much detail here on how I did it because, in retrospect, I think there are better and safer ways to do this job. My jig was very quick to make, but there are plenty of better jigs out there, and next time I think I'll make one that fits on the table saw. I think the 10-inch blade would make a much better handle than the 7 1/4 inch blade I'm using here. We already had one bottom board, so I didn't have to make that, but I still need to make a top. I've made several kinds of tops, and recently I've taken to this type because they're just so quick to make. And since I've already got the paint out for the box, I'll just paint the top too. And finally, it's time to move the bees into their new home. After taking them from the cardboard box and putting them into the new box, it became instantly apparent that they already needed more space. We had a medium box left over, so we'll use that for now. With all the hardware, the bees, the brood, the honey, it's a little heavy. I can lift it okay, but setting it down was a challenge, but I finally got it into place. We started this season with only 3 hives, and now we have 7 here, plus an observation hive over by the house that's bursting at the seams. Pretty good for backyard beekeepers. Now that that's done, it's time to just stand back for a few minutes and admire the sweet success.